They whispered lies about you, Scorpio. They pointed fingers in silent rooms, invented stories to fill in the blanks they were too afraid to ask about. They painted you with shadows they themselves cast because your light was too blinding to bear. But what they never knew was that every rumor they spoke behind your back was not burying you, it was building your throne. Every lie was not a stone to crush you. It was a brick laid in the foundation of your rising. You see, Scorpio, you don't collapse under pressure. You transform in it. Where others melt in the heat of judgment, you are the sign that walks into the fire willingly knowing full well that it is in the flames, where your soul becomes gold. Right now, there is a strange stillness around you, like the air before a storm, like the silence before truth finally roars. There's something in your chest, isn't there? A thump, a tightness, a feeling that something unseen is swirling behind the scenes. And maybe, just maybe, you've tried to ignore it, tried to stay calm, tried to keep playing a role that doesn't fit your spirit anymore. But this moment, this breath you're taking right now is the exact second your soul has been waiting for. Because the truth, Scorpio, is that you were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to be understood by those who fear depth. You were not born to be safe. You were born to shake foundations. And now, as the whispers grow louder, as false narratives try to circle around you like smoke, you will not choke. You will ignite. This isn't about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. This is about proving to yourself that every sacred part of you they tried to label shrink or silence is the exact force this world desperately needs. So if you feel a fire building in your stomach, if you feel a storm brewing in your bones, if you've been hearing your name in rooms you weren't invited into, good. That means it's working. Because the rumors, they don't define you. They reveal who fears you. And more importantly, they awaken who you've always been. The question isn't why are they talking about you? The real question is, are you ready to rise exactly as you are while they watch and realize they never knew you at all? Now come closer, because in the next part, we're going to show you how every lie becomes a ladder and how your silence is about to become your most powerful roar. Part 1, the weight of their words. The fire of your truth. There's a strange kind of exhaustion that Scorpio souls carry, not from physical labor, not from sleepless nights, but from years of swallowing what should have been said out loud. Scorpios don't fear silence. They weaponize it. They understand that in a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the one who listens holds the real power. But even the strongest listener eventually hears the wrong words. And lately, you've been hearing your name in frequencies that don't feel right, words passed behind backs, opinions mocked as concern, sentences soaked in envy twisted into false concern like, she's just too intense. He's probably hiding something. I don't trust people who are that private. They don't even realize they're revealing more about themselves than they are about you. But here's the deeper truth, Scorpio. They were never talking about you, not really. They were talking about a version of you they never understood, a version that made them uncomfortable because it couldn't be predicted or controlled, a version that made them question what was hiding inside their own souls. And so they turned their fear into fiction, because it's easier to invent a lie than to face a truth that makes you uncomfortable. But you were never the lie. You were always the mirror. They called you too quiet because you saw too much. They called you cold because you didn't perform warmth on command. They called you manipulative because you refused to be manipulated. And the weight of those words, you've carried them for far too long. You've wondered, should I speak up and defend myself? Should I confront them? Should I walk away? But the universe is crafting something far more powerful than confrontation. You are not being called to react. You are being called to rise. Right now, as you sit in the thick mist of gossip and misunderstanding, a fire is being lit beneath your truth. Not a wildfire of rage, but a sacred flame of clarity. A flame that says, I no longer accept the role they wrote for me. I no longer carry the weight of someone else's projections. I will no longer explain my soul to those who aren't ready to listen. This fire, it burns quietly. It doesn't scream. It doesn't lash out. It simply radiates until even the loudest liars are blinded by the glow of your unbothered truth. Scorpio, this is the part of the story where you stop feeding the machine of misunderstanding, where you stop thinking that you owe anyone a performance of who you are, because who you are beneath the rumors beyond the roles is not someone who needs to win arguments. You're someone who needs to win back your energy. And the truth is, you've already won. Because while they've been spending their energy talking about you, you've been using yours to rebuild yourself from the inside out. You are no longer the person who sits in silence out of fear. You are the one who sits in silence out of power. And when you speak, if you choose to speak, your words will not be weapons, they will be liberation. Life lesson for part 1, let them talk. Let the fire they start light your way. Because when you live in your truth, the noise of falsehood becomes background static, irrelevant, forgettable, and fading fast. Part 2, the gossip is not about you. It's about their fear. There's something we need to make crystal clear. Scorpio, those rumors, the gossip that's been swirling around your name like smoke in a crowded room, they've never truly been about you, not the real you, not the soul that feels like thunder when it's quiet, like still waters that run impossibly deep. Not the energy that sees through smiles, pierces veils, and reads entire rooms without saying a word. No, the whispers are about what you represent. You are a threat, not because of your actions, but because of your essence. You represent the one thing that this surface-level world struggles to digest, unapologetic truth. People fear what they can't understand, and even more than that, they fear what they can't control. And Scorpio, you are both. You can't be boxed in, labeled, tamed, or silenced. Your silence is not submission, it's strategic. Your mystery is not emptiness, it's power. And your distance is not rejection, it's protection. So when they gossip, when they say, she's so intense, he's acting different lately, I heard this about them, they're not pointing out your flaws. They're projecting their discomfort with how uncomfortable your authenticity makes them feel. Think about it. What does your calmness trigger in the chaotic? What does your honesty expose in the deceitful? What does your depth make shallow people confront themselves? Your presence activates unhealed places in others. And instead of doing the work to grow, most people choose the easy route. Let's talk about them so we don't have to face us. But you were not made for shallow waters. And the truth is, Scorpio, if no one's talking about you, you're probably not walking in your purpose yet. Because when a Scorpio begins to align with their higher path, when you begin to cut cords, set boundaries, withdraw your energy from fake dynamics, you will become misunderstood. You will become feared. You will become the subject of conversation. But listen carefully. That's how you know it's working. You're no longer a character in someone else's story. You're the one holding the pen now. Let them say you've changed. You have. Let them say you've become distant. You've risen. Let them say they don't recognize you anymore. Good. That means you're finally becoming someone only you are meant to recognize first. And one day, the very people who gossiped will retell your story with admiration, conveniently forgetting how they once distorted your name to feel powerful in their own stagnation. But that's not your job to correct. You're not here to manage their fear. You're here to become unapologetically free. Life lesson for part 2. When they fear your truth, they'll invent a fiction. Let them. Because while they build rumors, you're building your reality, one that doesn't require approval to exist. Part 3. The inner court building your sanctuary. Let's be honest, Scorpio. You've never felt truly at home in most rooms. Even in places where laughter is loud, Food is abundant and love is supposed to be unconditional. There's often been a shadow in the corner of your heart whispering, "They don't really see me. I'm here, but I'm not known." You've smiled through dinners where your silence was mistaken for arrogance. You've kept secrets not to deceive but to protect the sacred. You've felt more alone in crowds than you ever did in solitude. But here's the hidden truth behind your discomfort. You were never meant to belong to the world. You were meant to belong to yourself first. Scorpio, you carry an inner court, a spiritual temple where the real you lives, and only those who honor the silence, respect the fire, and understand the depth deserve to be allowed in. The rumors they spread, their attempts to invade that sanctuary, to define what they have no access to map a soul space that's not theirs to enter. But now, right now, you are being called to seal the gates, to step fully into that sacred internal kingdom, to stop waiting for someone else to give you the love, the validation, the recognition that your own soul is aching to offer you. Imagine this for a moment. You are in a vast, quiet space, a room filled with soft candlelight and the echoes of your ancestors' wisdom. The walls are lined with your deepest truths, not written in ink, but in energy. There is a throne in the center, not one of ego, but of sovereignty. You sit there not to rule over others, but to reign over the parts of yourself that you once gave away too freely. This is your inner court. And in this space, you are not the misunderstood one. You are not the scapegoat. You are not the gossip magnet. You are the keeper of truth, the alchemist of your ancestry, the healer of your lineage. They don't need to understand your silence. It's not for them. They don't need to comprehend your absence. It's not a punishment, it's a ritual. They don't need access to your truth. Because your truth is not public property, it's a soul inheritance. Let them knock at the gates. Let them talk about the kingdom they'll never be invited into. Let them peer through the stained glass windows of your mystery and create their own stories. You don't need to correct them. You just need to keep building. Brick by brick, boundary by boundary, breath by breath. Because the moment you decide that your peace is more valuable than their approval is the moment you begin to feel whole again. And once your inner court is built, everything else changes. The people who gossip fade into background noise. The ones who understand your depth will find their way to your gates without needing a map. And you'll finally stop apologizing for being the fortress you were always meant to be. Life lesson for part 3. The world may never understand the sacred architecture of your soul, but your job was never to explain it. Your job was to protect it, honor it, and live inside it fully. Part 4. Mars and Pluto. Your invisible guardians. If there's one truth that every Scorpio soul must one day remember, it is this: you are never going through your transformation alone. Even when the room is empty, even when the betrayal feels sharp, even when the silence is loud, there are forces walking with you. Celestial, ancient, unseen but undeniable. They are called Mars and Pluto, your rulers, your guardians, your initiators. And right now they're closer than ever. Let's begin with Mars, the ancient god of war, the planet of fire and forward movement. For most signs, Mars brings agitation, but for you, Scorpio Mars is the engine of survival. Mars teaches you that when people speak your name with poison, you do not react with rage. You channel. You convert pressure into purpose. Mars teaches you how to master the battlefield without ever lifting a weapon. Think about the last time someone lied about you. The last time you heard a rumor, felt the sting of being misjudged. Did you scream? Or did you fall back into a deeper silence, into strategy, into a kind of calm only a Scorpio could carry? That my dear soul was Mars moving through you like a pulse beneath your skin, not to push you toward war, but to sharpen your inner edge. And then there is Pluto. Pluto doesn't walk, it descends. It doesn't shake the surface. It shatters the foundation. Pluto is the god of the underworld, the keeper of transformation, the planet of death, not of life, but of old identities, false truths, and ancestral cycles. And when Pluto whispers your name, you begin to feel it in the bones of your being. The roles you've outgrown begin to ache. The lies you've tolerated begin to taste like ash. And the versions of yourself you played to survive begin to dissolve. It was never just about the gossip, was it? It was about who you became when the gossip no longer had power over you. Pluto isn't punishing you, Scorpio. It's preparing you. It's dragging the falsehoods out of the corners of your life and holding them up to your face, saying, "Is this who you still want to be? Is this story still true? Are you still choosing to live in the echo of other people's fear?" And when you say no, when you finally whisper that sacred word, enough, that's when the alchemy begins. You rise not just in defiance of the lies, but in reverence to the truth you never stopped carrying. Mars gives you the drive. Pluto gives you the depth. Together they carve a path for your soul that no rumor, no betrayal, no voice can block. They are not just planets, they are forces of remembrance. For you were never ordinary. You were never here for comfort. You are here to be transformed, and through that transformation to lead others back to their own buried truths. So the next time you hear they're talking about you, smile quietly. Because you know something they don't. You are not just surviving the fire, you are walking it with Mars at your back and Pluto in your blood. Life lesson for part 4, your power doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being aligned with the cosmic forces that made you who you are, and the truth they placed in your soul long before this lifetime. Part 5, the ancestral wound and the karmic pattern. Scorpio, have you ever wondered why you attract such intense experiences? Why the gossip cuts so deep? Why judgment follows you like a shadow even when you've done nothing but mind your soul? It's not just personal, it's ancestral. You are not carrying only your pain. You are carrying the unspoken grief of those who came before you, those who were never allowed to speak, to scream, to shine. Your lineage is lined with warriors, healers, mystics, but also with women who were silenced, men who were shamed for their sensitivity, children who learned early how to hide the fire in their eyes so it wouldn't scare the world. You are the first of your bloodline to say, "No more. This shame is not mine. This silence stops with me." The rumors you face now are echoes of ancient misunderstandings. The discomfort people feel around your energy is the same discomfort they once felt around your great-grandmother's insight, your uncle's honesty, your father's emotional depth. They never knew what to do with someone who saw too much, so they gossiped, they labeled, they ridiculed. But you were born with the spiritual technology they didn't have. You were born with the alchemy that turns wounds into wisdom, with the soul strength to stand at the crossroads of pain and pattern and whisper the most powerful sentence in any bloodline. "I forgive you, but I will not walk this path again." That's not rebellion, that's healing on a soul level. And make no mistake, it's sacred, it's holy. It's exactly why you were chosen to be born as a Scorpio. When the gossip starts, when you feel the familiar sting of being misjudged, take a breath and ask, am I reacting to this moment or to the echoes of generations? Because when you choose to break the pattern, when you stop feeding the lies, stop shrinking your light, stop explaining yourself to those who refuse to hear, you're not just freeing yourself. You're freeing them too. You're releasing the memory of a grandmother who stayed silent to survive. You're healing the shame of a parent who never learned how to cry out loud. You're standing in the place where judgment used to live, and you're cleansing it with your presence. Let that sink in. You were not born into this cycle to be another victim of it. You were born into it to end it. And it doesn't require rage. It doesn't need a confrontation. It only asks that you choose truth over performance, peace over perception, sovereignty over survival. The next time someone says you've changed, look them in the eye and reply, I've remembered who I really am. Because Scorpio, this isn't just about karma. It's about your cosmic assignment, and you are doing what no one before you could. You're transmuting the weight of centuries into wings. Life lesson for part 5. When you stop repeating what wounded your ancestors, you don't just heal your soul, you bless your entire lineage. You become the sacred interruption in a chain of suffering. Part 6. The mask they gave you and why it never fit. They tried to define you, Scorpio, long before they even knew your story. Before you spoke, they had opinions. Before you made a choice, they had judgments. Before you even showed your soul, they had already written your role. And what a strange role it was. They called you secretive, but never asked why. They called you too intense, but never questioned their own emotional shallowness. They called you controlling without realizing they were just disturbed by your clarity. They didn't see the nuance. They didn't want to. So instead, they handed you a mask, one made of fear, of misunderstanding, of stereotypes. Be quieter, you're too much. Smile more, you seem cold. Don't say that it makes people uncomfortable. So you tried, didn't you? You dimmed your light. You softened your tone. You bit your tongue until it tasted like sacrifice. You wore their mask not because you were fake, but because part of you thought, if I make myself smaller, maybe they'll love me. If I play along, maybe they'll stop whispering. But Scorpio, the mask never fit. Not really. It itched at your soul. It muffled your intuition. It distorted your reflection in the mirror. Because deep down, you've always known you are not here to be palatable. You are not here to make others feel safe in their illusion. You are not here to wear a costume just to be allowed in the room. You are here to bring truth into spaces that are allergic to honesty. You are here to be a mirror, not a mask. And that's exactly why they gossip. Because the moment you start peeling off the mask, the moment you stop apologizing for your energy, is the moment their comfort zones start to quake. They say you've changed, but the truth is, you're just no longer pretending to be what made them comfortable. You're not colder, you're just clearer. You're not angrier, you're just finally setting boundaries. You're not darker, you're just no longer hiding your power behind a soft filter. And while they talk, while they scramble to update their stories about you, you are stepping fully into your own skin. This is not arrogance, it's remembrance. You are remembering who you were before the world taught you to shrink, before they masked your soul with misunderstanding, before you traded clarity for acceptance. Now the mask falls, and what they see beneath, some won't know how to handle it, some won't be able to stay. But the ones who are meant for your light, the ones who speak your soul's language, they will find you. And they won't need you to wear anything but your truth. Life lesson for part 6. The world may try to assign you a role, but only you can claim your identity. When you take off the mask, you don't lose people, you lose illusions, and you gain your real self. Part 7. Soul family is not found, it is attracted. Scorpio, let's be real, how many times have you sat at a table surrounded by people and still felt completely alone? You smiled, you nodded at the right moments, you laughed when you were supposed to, but something inside you whispered, they don't see me, not the real me. Because let's face it, most people see only what's easy to digest, and your depth, your intensity, your raw, unfiltered truth. It's not easy to digest. That's why they gossip. That's why they whisper behind closed doors. Because they don't understand you, and instead of seeking truth, they fill the silence with fiction. But here's the sacred truth. You were never meant to be understood by the many. You were born to be recognized by the few, the ones whose souls are cut from the same ancient cloth as yours. They are your soul family, and you don't find them by chasing, by explaining, by shrinking to fit. You find them, or rather they find you when you begin to radiate in your truth. When you stop performing, the right people stop pretending. When you stop seeking, the real connections begin. And when you stop watering dead roots, your true garden starts to grow. Your soul family is not afraid of your darkness because they've sat with their own. They don't flinch at your silence, they honor it. They don't misinterpret your absence. They trust your rhythm. They'll sit with you in a room and not say a word, and somehow it will feel like the most honest conversation you've ever had. But here's the twist. Before your soul family can enter, you must first come home to yourself. You must create space within your own heart where no rumor, no judgment, no misunderstanding can take root. Think of it as a spiritual frequency. The moment you release the need to be understood, you emit a signal only your true tribe can hear. The frequency of authenticity. And when you rise into that frequency, even if you're doing it quietly alone in your own sacred cave, the universe hears you. And so do they. They might not come immediately, but they will arrive, not to complete you, not to rescue you, but to walk beside you as equals, mirrors, not mocks. You'll know them by how your nervous system relaxes in their presence, by how nothing feels forced, by how they see the you behind the armor and never ask you to hide it again. You're not too much for them, you're perfectly matched. But the path to finding them begins with releasing those who only ever saw the rumor, never the reality. Let them go and watch the real ones, the rare ones rise to meet you. Life lesson for part 7, you don't attract what you chase, you attract what you are. Become the home your soul has been searching for and watch your real family come knocking without you saying a word. Part 8. The sacred rebellion. You are not abandoning, you are ascending. Scorpio, let's speak the truth they don't want to hear. Choosing yourself is not abandonment, it's ascension. But oh, how they'll try to twist it, won't they? You've changed. You're so distant now, you think you're better than us. No, you don't think you're better. You just know you're done bleeding to prove you belong. You're not walking away out of arrogance, you're walking away out of wisdom. You're no longer interested in sitting at tables where the meal is gossip and the currency is pretending. You're not willing to keep swallowing discomfort just to make others comfortable. You're not entertaining conversations that start with, "Did you hear what they said about you?" You've outgrown the game. And make no mistake, that is a sacred act of rebellion. Not loud, not angry, but soul-deep, blood-earned, bone-clear. There comes a moment in every Scorpio's journey where the line is drawn not in the sand, but in the soul. Where you say, "I am not the villain in their version of the story, but I refuse to play the victim in mine." You start to see the pattern. The more you heal, the less chaos feels familiar. The more you rise, the more silence becomes your sanctuary. The more you speak truth, the more lies unravel on their own. This is not rejection, it's redirection. From pleasing others to pleasing your soul. From surviving relationships to transforming them or walking away with grace. You are not selfish, you are finally self-honoring. Let them say what they want. Let them craft their stories, assign their meanings, whisper in rooms you'll never enter again. Because while they're still dancing in drama, you are learning to walk on air. Do you know what true rebellion looks like for a Scorpio? It's not revenge, it's release. It's saying, "I forgive you, but I release you. I see what you are and I see what I am becoming. I wish you peace, but I choose my power." Because Scorpio, you are not leaving them behind. You are simply refusing to stay in a frequency that no longer holds your soul. And when you leave a path of light behind you. So if they ever choose to evolve, they'll know the way, marked by every boundary you bravely set, every rumor you transcended, and every time you chose truth over tribal approval. This is not an escape, it's an elevation. This is not rebellion for the sake of ego, it's rebellion in the name of healing. Because when one Scorpio ascends, the entire lineage feels the vibration shift. And Scorpio, you were always meant to lead the climb. Life lesson for part 8, there is no need to explain your evolution to those who are committed to misunderstanding your rise. Your soul's ascent doesn't require permission, only courage. Part 9, you are the alchemist, and this is your great work. Scorpio, you were never meant to just survive this life. You were born to transform it. And not just for yourself, but for every ancestor who swallowed their truth, every friend who never dared to speak their mind, every soul who mistook silence for safety. This is your great work. Not in the sense of doing more, achieving more, proving more, but in the sacred sense of becoming who you truly are, no matter who misunderstands it. The lies. They were never your burden. They were your materials. The judgment, not your prison, your pressure. The very force that shaped the diamond you are now stepping into. You are the alchemist, the one who takes the lead of gossip and transmutes it into the gold of clarity. The one who hears the whispers and turns them into mirrors. The one who walks into the fire and emerges not burned, but reborn. You are the soul who said, "I will not drink this poison, and I will not pass it on." This story ends with me and something beautiful begins. And that's the difference between you and the ones who talk. They speak out of fear. You move from fire. They label. You transform. They stay in the cycle. You break it. Your power was never about shouting back. It was always about holding your frequency when everything around you tries to drag it down. They wanted you to crumble. You chose to crystallize. They hoped you'd stay silent. You became a frequency they can't escape. They tried to make you doubt yourself. But now your very existence, in truth, in peace, in presence, is proof that nothing they said ever had power. Because you didn't collapse, you transcended. And now you see it all clearly. Every time they talked about you, you were shedding another layer. Every time they excluded you, you were returning to your own center. Every false story told, it was just another shadow burned away by the heat of your becoming. You are no longer here to fix the system that hurt you. You are here to rise so far beyond it that its rules no longer apply. The rumors didn't ruin you. They revealed you. And now your voice, whether spoken or silent, carries the vibration of a soul who has turned wounds into wisdom, isolation into initiation, and gossip into gold. That is your legacy. That is your light. That is the reason they will never forget you, no matter how much they try to rewrite your story. Because Scorpio, you weren't just a character in their fiction. You were the fire that exposed it. Life lesson for part 9. Your greatest work isn't to correct their version of you. It's to become the truest version of yourself so powerfully that their stories dissolve in your presence. The throne was always yours. So here we are, Scorpio, after the whispers, after the judgments, after the stories they told about you without ever truly knowing you. You are still here, and not just standing, but rising. Not with vengeance, not with noise, but with a power so ancient, so refined, so undeniable, that even the ones who once doubted you must now watch you ascend. You were never broken, you were being forged, and every rumor, every false label, every conversation behind your back, they were simply hammers, and you became the blade. The truth is, Scorpio, you never needed to explain who you are. You just needed to remember. Remember that you are the keeper of sacred fire, the architect of your own transformation, the one who walks into the night and returns with the morning. They never saw you coming because they were too busy staring at your shadow, but now they will feel the weight of your light. And that throne, the one they said you were too much for, too different for, too intense for, it was always yours. You didn't steal it, you earned it in silence, in tears, in truth. And now it's time to sit in your sovereignty, to walk forward not as someone defined by what they said, but as someone refined by what you chose not to become. You are no longer here to survive rooms that never had space for you. You are here to build new realms where truth is currency, depth is honored, and presence is sacred. So breathe, beautiful Scorpio. You've done what few ever dare. You faced the storm, and instead of hiding, you became the sky. This is not the end, this is the return. The return to self, to power, to purpose. And if this message stirred something ancient in your soul, I invite you to do something powerful right now. Comment below, "I am the alchemist of my soul." Let it be your sacred vow, a promise to never again betray yourself for acceptance, a declaration that from this moment on, you are not the story they tell you are the story they could never understand. And if this message touched you, share it with someone who needs it. Because somewhere another Scorpio is questioning their worth, believing the lies dimming their flame. Be their signal. And of course, subscribe to the Path to Buddha Wisdom, because this is just the beginning. There are more gates to open, more truths to unearth, more fires to rise from. And you, Scorpio, you were always destined for more.